Okay, so earlier, earlier today, I mentioned that it's possible for the doctor to take a sample using a long needle of the amniotic fluid that surrounds the fetus. And that's done sometimes. It's called the amniocentesis. And one of the things they can then do with the cells they collect is create something that's called a karyotype. A karyotype is really just a picture of all of the chromosomes in a cell, and they are arranged from longest chromosome to shortest chromosome. And we can get some information from this. So here are some examples. What you see on the screen are examples of karyotypes. Okay? And so what you see, these numbered things, each one is a pair of chromosomes, right? So the longest chromosome is chromosome number 1. Then is chromosome 2, 3, 4, all the way up to 22. They also stain the chromosomes, and that's why they kind of have like this banding pattern. Logan, you got to write that on the top there. And so that banding pattern is different for each of the chromosomes. And so when you look at a karyotype such as this, you could see a couple things. One, you can see if the correct number of chromosomes are there. Now, in a typical individual, how many chromosomes should be found there? 46. But sometimes there are, as we talked about, there are occasions when during meiosis, when the chromosome partners are supposed to split, sometimes they don't split properly. Sometimes 2 chromosomes can go into one cell rather than one into each. And what that means is a sperm cell or an egg cell could end up with an extra or a missing chromosome. And if that sperm or egg cell forms an embryo, the embryo can have a different number other than 46. And so this one in the lower left-hand corner is what we would think of as a typical karyotype. There's 22 pairs, and then there's a set of sex chromosomes. But if we look at, for example, this karyotype, we could see things are as they should, but then we look at chromosome number 21, and what we see is this individual actually has 3 21st chromosomes. Okay? And having an extra chromosome or missing a chromosome can present a whole host of different effects on a person as they grow and develop. And so the term we use when a person has an extra 21st chromosome, that's what Down syndrome is. A person that has Down syndrome has an extra 21st chromosome. It's sometimes called trisomy 21 because there's 3 of this 21st chromosome. There's other conditions when people can be born
like
with
Asperger's?
an extra, no, not due to extra chromosomes.
Autism?
So no, none of those are due to extra chromosomes. Trisomy 13 is another condition that a person can have if they have 3 13th chromosomes. A person can have an extra X chromosome. That's called Klinefelter syndrome. A person can have just an X chromosome as their sex chromosome. That's called Turner syndrome. So there's a few different conditions that arise when a person is born with an extra or a missing chromosome. Typically, a person is not born with 3 or 4 extra chromosomes because having extra chromosomes actually leads to overproduction of certain proteins. An embryo with 3 or 4 or 5 extra chromosomes just won't survive. It won't grow and develop. And so people aren't typically born with more than 3 or 4 extra chromosomes.
What causes cerebral palsy?
So that's a neurological disorder. It could be like a genetic factor that leads to a breakdown in nervous tissue. Jordan?
Wait, so a person has only 46 in all, or just a cell?
In every cell. So typically, a person has 46 chromosomes in every cell of their body. Has 46.
Very confusing.
What are the only cells that should have a different number?
Sperm cells.
Sperm and egg cells. How many do they have typically? 23. Well, every other cell basically has the same chromosomes. So the chromosomes, there are 22 chromosomes that when we're making a karyotype, we arrange them in size. And then the last set is a special set of chromosomes. They're called sex chromosomes. Sex chromosomes, there's 2 versions. There's X or there's Y. The X chromosome is a large chromosome. The Y chromosome is a much smaller chromosome. And so typically, a person that has 2 X chromosomes is a female.
Yes.
A person with an X and a Y, okay, is a male. So you can't, it's covered up by this, but here's again an example of a person with Down syndrome. Okay. Would this be male or female?
Female.
How do we know?
Because there's there's less chromosomes.
Well, no.
It's an X and an X.
Yeah, there's 2 X's.
Okay.
Look back here. This person, that's an X and that's a Y, so that would typically be a male.
Very confusing.
And so when you do an amniocentesis and you make a karyotype of a fetus that's growing and developing, you also can tell if it's going to be male or female. You could tell if there are any possible chromosome abnormalities as well. And so, like I said, having an extra chromosome can present a whole bunch of things that end up leading to difficulties in different things. And so here are some of the typical characteristics that are associated with an extra 21st chromosome. Sometimes some heart issues, sometimes some difficulties in development, some certain facial structures that lead to the condition that we call Down syndrome. It's a whole host of different things that are caused by having that extra 21st chromosome. There's also sometimes conditions when pieces of chromosomes that aren't the partners get swapped from one to the other, and that can lead to certain difficulties as well. But you are going to be doing a lab in a little bit that's going to have you looking at diagrams of chromosomes and making these karyotypes, trying to determine what condition a person might have, and you'll learn about some of those conditions. This used to be done with actual photographs. Like they would take a sample of cells, stain the chromosomes, make a slide of them, take a picture of them under the microscope, and then somebody would actually cut them out, paste them onto a piece of paper in order, and then that's how they would make the karyotype. Today, they're made using computers. Today, they're just sorted using computers to make this diagram, but the end result is the same. A picture of the chromosomes, arranged largest to smallest, and then the sex chromosomes. And that's the activity you're going to be doing here.